friends, and welcome to Back Talk. This is episode 4 of the official Los Melanos College Experience podcast. I'm Robert Pierce, the social media editor and campus editor for the paper, and I'm joined here today by...
I'm Anthony Martinez, photo editor of the LMC newspaper, and it's my 19th birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
It's a great present to be with us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm Lilly Montero. I'm co-editor-in-chief of the paper.
And so today we're gonna kind of do previous week and this week at once because we didn't actually have an in-print issue because we had last Friday off for, what was it, Native American Day? Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Native American
It is
Day.
for Native American Day.
Yeah, it looks the worst for me to not know that.
Colonizers, right?
Oh my god. Is that really good on the podcast?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
So a really big story from last week was mold in the music room. Lily, you kind of saw this happen?
So basically it started off as breaking news and we're running it this week with an update as an actual story. Essentially, students were not made aware that their classes would be canceled and stuff like that, and so midday on Thursday, they found that the Central Music Hall had been closed, and there was actually some controversy about that, about whether the recital hall would be closed, because YAF, Young Americans for Freedom, they were supposed to have a guest speaker.
Jason Montero, I don't know if I pronounced his name. Montero.
Yeah, and so there's some controversy about that, and we're still updating the story and figuring it out. It looks like there's asbestos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so that will be an updated story this week, and you can find that on Twitter and online.
And yeah, and several of the music buildings are still closed down as of today. But yeah, we will
Several
definitely...
portions of the music complex.
But not the entire complex, just key individual
No,
pieces.
it looks like the recording rooms and the recital hall are still open, but that area where the faculty members' offices are, and then I think the main building where they do classes with the big piano in it, I think that's still closed.
Yeah.
But this isn't the first time it's happened either.
Really?
I've heard that this isn't the first time it's happened, and that this time I guess they're trying to make it, because the roof's been leaking for years apparently.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so there's a precedence for this.
And I guess this came as a surprise to some of the professors who actually teach in there too, because I saw Zuniga pass by and he was reading, that they moved the classes, they switched the classes, so I guess not even the professors knew.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a very last minute thing. There's a bunch of speculation around it, and we'll have more solid information on it as the story develops. But as of right now, it looks like asbestos, and there was precedent for this because, as Anthony mentioned, it looks like there was leaking over time for the past couple years. And then additionally, a roof actually caved in during the summer.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
So they've been meaning to treat this for a while, it looks like.
A roof in the music department?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
a roof caved in.
Wow.
Over the
Okay.
summer. Nobody was harmed, but... So there's precedence for this, and we just have to unfold the story and see where it leads us.
Yeah, I guess it's just all coming to a head. Another story was, we had a story that I wrote, actually. It was on how zero textbook cost might be affecting the bookstore. So zero textbook cost, also called open educational resources, is sections at LMC that are designed to where the student does not have to buy a textbook. Sometimes you have to pay for the cost of printing if you want a printed copy, but it's designed to 90% or 100% be stuff you don't have to pay for. That's available online to you. And so the project has really taken off. Last semester was 100 sections, this semester is 115. And I was able to talk to Edward Haven with the OER board, and I was able to talk to Robert Estrada with the bookstore on how ZTC might be affecting the bookstore revenues, because it's actually not a privately owned company.
Right.
It's
run
a self-supporting enterprise, yeah. That where it most of its revenues go into either keeping it alive or promoting programs at LMC.
Right.
So if it fails, it's kind of going to hurt all of us.
Right. It's part of the LMCAS. It helps bolster their budget, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it isn't a dire strait either. Robert Estrada, he said that he supports the OER program, he said that obviously it's probably going to cut into revenues at some point, but he's confident in their ability to do other stuff.
Right.
Like a big one that he cited was the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you guys walk in there, they've been selling a ton of comic books with all the Marvel and DC movies lately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that, and they have a new food vendor, and they're looking into selling games. So, I think they're definitely going to be going places with that bookstore.
Yeah. So they'll be expanding their what is it called?
Operations?
Yeah, expanding their operations to bolster the revenue and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have a definitive action plan yet, but they're definitely looking at revenues beyond textbooks, beyond snack food.
And prior to this story being published, though, I had no idea that they were actually that involved in the LMC community outside of that. And I'd rather, because I heard that there's actually competition for them to be kicked out by, like, some sort of, like, I don't want to say, like, third party or outside source.
That could just come in.
I'd rather, now that I hear that, I'd rather keep it the way it is right now.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a homegrown bookstore rather than a private one, just because, I mean, the revenue from the bookstore is directly coming back to LMC. Like, it's used for fundraising, it's used for LMCAS, and without that, I mean, that's a detriment to our community. So the bookstore is not just the bookstore, it's a part of the community.
Definitely, yeah.
So, yeah.
Another big community story was makerspace, and Anthony, you covered this, right?
Yeah, so I actually did cover makerspace. I talked to Eric Sanchez, I talked to Lucy Snow, I even talked to the head welding instructor or professor. Basically what makerspace is, because it's a little bit hard to put into words, but it's basically like a lab or a department where anyone with an idea, a 3D model, a concept, who wants to make it into like the real life via mills, 3D printers, laser cutters, all this stuff, can actually make what they want in real life. And it's a very popular opinion, or it's a very popular want.
Yeah, it's been done on other campuses, right?
It's actually being done here. Not many people know that. That's what I wrote about in my article. So the head welding professor, he's actually creating his own makerspace. But the thing is, that's geared more towards heavy duty and iron, and like all this heavy duty stuff. So he's actually making one right now. It's just that these things take time, whether it is like approval, finding the right space, which is something that makerspace needs.
The money to get all that hardware.
Yes, and that, which is what Eric was talking about too, which they hope to achieve through grants or some such thing.
So basically, makerspace is like a creative lab where you can make stuff.
That's the beautiful thing of it. Yeah,
like it's like ideas made manifest.
Lucy Snow told me. She told me the great quote. It's interdisciplinary, something like that.
Interdisciplinary.
Yeah,
interdisciplinary.
I was trying to think of the word, and all I could think of was intersectional, which isn't quite right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean it's great because it's gonna be that's the thing. It doesn't have a target, so it's open ended to like people who are majoring in, let's say, or who are in the welding industry, automotive, engineering, even art.
Yeah, because Lucy Snow is art faculty, isn't she?
Yeah, and so is Eric too. I think it's great, and a lot of people are looking forward to it. It's just, I mean, it comes with problems, but I feel like even another quote that was said by the Joe Mayer, the head welding instructor, was the long-term benefits are going to outweigh the cost in the end. So I think it's something to definitely look forward to.
And so I have a question though. What we're looking at now, is it each department making their own? Because obviously welding has their own. Or are we trying to make an interdisciplinary department that would allow for people from all majors to come work?
Yeah, no. So they are trying to create an interdisciplinary station or lab or for every career, every person. And then basically the reason why welding is making their own is because, to feed their specific needs. Okay. So it's a general thing, but each department, I mean, what they do with their money and that's them. Okay. But basically, welding would like it too because let's say like school isn't in session or the makerspace is closed for their department, they could use the general
makerspace,
the community makerspace as a general one. So they wouldn't have access to the same amount of things, but it's the concept is there.
So they can still work on their projects and whatever else they need to do.
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
Cool. I like that.
And some other big stories that are going to be in the paper this week is that Perry is doing some food reviews. Our other co-editor, Perry Kondenik, he was 1/3 of a review crew for Nito.
Yeah, Nito Kitchen and Bar, which is located in Oakland.
Oakland, yeah. So it was him, Alex Broom, and Jesus Cano, right? Yeah, and the three of them, they went to Nito and they had the food and they got a whole write-up on that. And then Perry's also doing an Oktoberfest series. Yeah. All next month.
Yeah, so basically what Perry's doing for Oktoberfest is he's going to local breweries and he's just reviewing the atmosphere, the beer, just a general like restaurant review style thing, except for breweries. And so instead of classic Oktoberfest where you just go out you go to bars, he's doing something that's very specific. And each week we'll have a new one. So there'll be 4 of them. The first one will run this week. Last one will run at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool because it's the first time in my tenure that we've done any sort of food review. At least.
Like a food review series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not even series, just I'm pretty sure that in my time being at the paper, I mean, I did a story on a food truck, but we've never done a restaurant review. We talked about like the student discount that involved restaurants, but it was never, we went to this restaurant, we tried the food, we gave it a rating.
So is Nito the first?
Maybe not in the history of the paper, but since I've been here, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's
I've
pretty
definitely
cool.
been pushing Perry to actually, because I know he really likes cooking and all that stuff, so I know
Yes.
that's his
Yeah.
specialty.
He described himself as bougie the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perry, I think that's why Perry's doing a more refined Oktoberfest, is because he's pretentious Perry. And so
Pretentious Perry.
yeah,
I like it.
I think it should be run as like pretentious Perry's picks, but we're just running it as the Oktoberfest series.
I think that's pretty cool though that he's actually delving into alcoholic beverages. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, I'm underage, right?
What birthday is it for you again?
19.
Yeah,
I don't drink, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. I'm kidding. No, but I mean, you know, we obviously have older people here at LMC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having that review available to them, especially something maybe that's more local, I think is he's filling in a niche that was never filled in to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. So definitely check that out if you're of age.
Creating and filling a niche in one go.
If you're of age or preparing, for me myself, I'm turning 21 in December. These reviews will definitely give me some insight.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, let you know where to go.
yeah.
Another series that we're doing is the Hispanic Heritage Month series, which is gonna be, we have this Friday and next Friday, right? And we've done 2 so far.
And those are the last 2, yeah. So far, Anthony and I have both done profiles on Hispanic faculty and staff around campus for Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs September 15th through to October 15th. So next week will essentially be our last profile, but this week I'm still setting up who the profile is going to be on, but
But it's definitely gonna be there.
yeah, it will definitely be there as soon as I get it done.
Because you did Victor Coronado and
Yes.
you did
Luis Zuniga.
Luis Zuniga, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to our last one because I want to end it on a high note of some sort.
So you're still gonna be doing profiles or like about people, or are you just gonna be talking about I don't know, something more cultural?
Profiles. I
Profiles.
think it's important to have representation around campus, and I'm thinking about doing a similar series for Black History Month as well.
For sure, that sounds pretty
So,
cool.
Yeah, and then maybe do some LGBT stuff. I don't know, just a bunch of little
Yeah, I
profile
don't think
series.
it's cool to do series and to actually have those reoccurring themes.
Oh no, I think that's great. You know what I mean? I think that's something that our paper has actually been lacking, is more of like a seasonal or like a more I don't know, tradition based thing. You know what I mean? Where we you know what I mean? Where we go with the seasons, where you know we're rotating.
I think one thing
that's
that
great.
would be really fun to do is, like, I know that as the holidays get closer, like, people who are Hispanic, like, they make, like, a bunch of food and tamales and stuff like that. Like, I would love to do a series, like, where it's, like, tamale holiday fun run. I think that would be really fun.
That sounds pretty cool. Or
Then we could just, like, review the best tamales in the area and stuff like that.
more opportunities for Perry, right?
No, for me. This
For
one's
you?
for me. Perry just likes beer. Well, no, I'm kidding, but...
That's what I love about living in the Bay Area, is that everyone you talk to has like their taco shop, and they're like, no, not yours. You gotta try mine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, like, in the future, like, a cool thing, like, if next year around fall, because I'm not going to be here next fall, if next fall they're like, oh, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, what are we going to do? I'm like, dude, tamale holiday fun run. That's what you should do. Like, you know, cool, like, keeping up with events like that happen every couple months or so would be really cool.
I hope you're actually like running between the tamales.
Okay.
Just running from site
It's
to
just a
site.
tamale relay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the baton.
Oh my god. You
That's
have
a
to
great
finish
idea.
it by the
If
time
that
you get to the
hasn't
next
been made-
person.
Yeah, and then you hand them the husk, and then they use it to make a new one.
Yes. Oh, that's a
Yes.
lot of hours, though.
It's going to be a very long event. It's like the 3,200 meter. Another story was that's also related to food, is the Brain Food project from Core, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that's kind of still in the works.
Yeah, this is similar to Makerspace in the sense that it's not something that's 100% finished. It's an ongoing project that LMC has going on. So essentially, it looks like the Core is doing what's called the Brain Food Project, which is essentially they're providing food to students or basically snacks to students who are studying in the core, because what often happens is that students are studying for so long, and then they get hungry, and then you want to go off campus to get food, and then you just end up not coming back. But the benefit of this is, one, you get to eat while you study, which has been scientifically proven to be beneficial. And then two, for students who have food insecurities, like this could be the one free meal that they get during the day.
Yeah.
And so that's really important because, I mean, it's just, you never really know, you know, what somebody's going through. And so having a place where you can study and eat at the same time can be beneficial for multiple reasons. So, but this is something that's in the works. They don't have like an official date of when this will get officially up and running, but it's a project.
I think projects like this is cool because we've been seeing a lot of these very lately, where it's these initiatives that it seems, when you read about it on paper, it seems kind of like, well, yeah, you figured they'd already be doing it, but it's cool that they're actually putting a concrete initiative, because like you have this where they're like they're really trying to get dedicated to getting students food. You have the guided pathways, which is really pushing the idea of every student having a day one to graduation path, which you would think that they would have, but this is just an initiative to make sure.
Yeah.
And then also the Starfish thing, or the OMC Connect, where a lot of teachers already talk to their students one-on-one all the time, but this is just an initiative to make sure that's happening consistently.
Yeah.
So it's something the last couple semesters that I've noticed the college is doing, where they're putting in forward a lot of initiatives to just make sure that these basics are really being covered.
Yeah, I think they're basically resource initiatives. Even zero textbook cost. That's really helpful because a singular book can be up to $300, and that's some people's rent. Like you know, so having other options that are cheaper options, or just like being like, hey, I'm going to provide you the material to make sure that you can learn.
Excuse me.
I
had no idea you guys were hiding it. What are you guys doing?
Recording a
Recording
podcast.
And so the other thing with zero textbook cost is that, like, yeah, a lot of sections were already, you didn't have to pay for a textbook, but it's a nice little organized initiative with its own resource board to make sure that it's happening and being pushed.
Yeah, and I think going to expand that, like, even though it impacts our bookstore, I think it's worthy of looking into, because as I said before, that's some people's rent. And it's really hard to, especially at a junior college, I mean, people are coming here not just... They're different than four-year students. You know what I mean? Like, they don't always have all the resources that they need, and they're doing their best. And people are working full-time, and they're doing all this different stuff. So I think cutting down those costs, providing resources like food and just guided pathways, all these resource-based initiatives are really overall helpful to the campus community in and out of it. Yeah.
I think it's great too, because you know, you see or you hear all the time like, oh, what's the school doing with their money and all that stuff. Like, I feel like this is, I don't know, we're at a time where it's very visual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can really see what the school is doing with money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they're putting it in the right place.
It's very organized.
And I think
For sure.
makerspace too is also like a resource-based initiative. Like having a place where you can create and innovate something that's not only in your classes, but also just something for the community, that's extremely valuable. Because people have ideas all the time that they can't do anything with.
Just the idea of having a community, open to the community 3D printer is awesome. If you told me that a year ago, that they were even thinking of that, it would have been nuts.
Right.
Yeah. Another one of the resource-based initiatives is the first-time full-time free tuition, which we have an update story coming out for soon.
Yeah, so we're working on getting an update on that to see how it's impact enrollment. Earlier this semester, I'm not sure if we had a podcast run on it, but earlier this semester
we did mention it.
With parking?
Yeah, with how... Yeah, because the first episode, that was the big story at the time, was parking. And yeah, we mentioned that first-time full-time free tuition, which is this... it's this new initiative that the college is doing, where if you are a first-time student who is attending full-time, they will pay for some or all of your tuition. And we were saying that might have had an impact on the parking situation.
Right, and so now we'll have actual numbers, not specifically for parking, but just upon enrollment. And from enrollment, we'll be able to determine, like, oh yeah, that's why parking was so bad. Of course, that's like a side story to the whole thing. I mean, the big part of it is like, this increased enrollment, this is how it was beneficial.
Oh yeah, enrollment numbers are at like 103% of anticipated, forecasted?
I think so, yeah. At the beginning of the semester, we still have to see, because now we're in that portion of the semester where people are dropping, and all of a sudden we can find parking.
Right.
So I think FT3 will be a long-term, it'll be something that needs to be updated long-term, because I think like 3 years out from now, checking in with those students who may have transferred or didn't transfer, if they're still here, it's like, hey, how did that impact your first year? How did that go? And they'd be like, oh, it lifted a weight off my shoulder, or, oh, like blah blah blah, or you know, so they'll be able to actually tell us long term how it affected them.
So who's writing the story?
Nick Campbell.
Nick Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you know what the strategy behind it is going to be? Are they going to create like some sort of poll? Are they going to?
We plan to run it with a graphic that makes it a little bit more clean to look at. He's right now he has the story written. We're looking to update it with the numbers.
Okay.
Because people have their best guess. Administrators have their best guess off the top of their heads, but we're trying to get concrete data.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
And so that's really all we have for this week. If you have a question for the podcast, you can send it to LMC_experience on either Twitter or Instagram, or you can tweet at us with #BackTalkLMC. And we will answer your questions live on the podcast if you have one for us.
Yes, please send some questions. We want to read some questions.
And other than that, as always, we have stories around the clock at lmcexperience.com, and we've got an issue coming out this Friday. So
A physical issue
coming out this Friday in addition to the web exclusive. So until next time, I'm Robert Pierce.
I'm Anthony Martinez.
I'm Lilly Montero.
And this has been Back Talk. Thank you for watching.